Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well let's learn English together. And welcome once again to the studio here on the planet Zrankaphon. Sorry, that's not true, is it? That was a lie. Only a little white lie, but still it was a lie. Sorry, we're not on the planet Zrankaphon at all. In fact, I don't even know if there is a planet Zrankaphon. So, sorry, once again. We are in the studio, as you can all see, but we're on planet Earth, not Zrankaphon. And if we want to be more specific, then we're in Europe. We're in the centre of Europe, here in Hungary, and we're in the capital city of Hungary. To be even more specific, we're here in the 3rd district, here in Budapest, the capital of Hungary. Okay, now that we've sorted that out, what are we doing here? Aha! Of course. Who remembers the last thing that I said yesterday? Yes, that's correct. The last thing I said yesterday was bye. But let's try and remember what I was saying before that. There was a phrase I used just before the end of the lesson. Can anyone remember what it was? Let me give you a hint or a clue. It was something connected to milk. Does that ring any bells? Yes. The phrase I used was, there's no point in crying over spilt milk. Okay, so let's have a look at that phrase in more detail, shall we? Well, the first thing we need to do is look at the idea of something having a point, or there being no point to something. If we talk about something having a point, then we're saying that there is a reason for doing something. There is a clear, good reason for doing something. Take, for example, the idea of studying. Perhaps when you're at school, you don't want to study for an exam. Your parents tell you that you have to study for the test. And you ask them, what's the point? Now, probably your parents will tell you that the point of studying for the exam is to get good results in the exam. Then, when you want to leave school and go to university or get a job, the university or the potential employer will look at your results and see if they want you to come to the university or come to work for them. The point of an exam is to show that you can study and learn information. The point of you studying for the exam is to make sure that you get a good result so that later on you get into the university or you get the job you want. Think about language for a second. You're all Hungarian. You all speak Hungarian. And we all know that the Hungarian language is unique. The Hungarian language is special. It's one of a kind. There are no real connections to other languages. Think about the other languages in Europe. The English language has got lots of connections to the French language, the German language, Latin and Greek. French and Spanish have got connections. Spanish and Italian have connections. And think about Serbian, Slovak, Slovenian, Ukrainian, Russian. All of these languages are connected because they're Slavic languages. They all have a common base. Now, maybe you're thinking to yourself, fine, Gav, but what's the point of this lecture on European languages? And that's a good question. What's the point? Why am I highlighting the differences and similarities between European languages? What is the reason for me telling you this? Well, it's connected to Hungarian. Hungarian is unique. Hungarian is special. And this creates a special situation for Hungarians. Imagine you're in school, in a foreign language lesson. Maybe it's a German lesson or a French lesson, or maybe you're learning Spanish or English or Chinese or Russian. And you're sitting there doing an exercise and you're bored. You're tired of learning languages. You want to be doing something else. Okay, but there's a point to learning languages. You stimulate your brain, you expand your horizons, you learn and become more intelligent. Fine. But for Hungarians, it's even more important. For Hungarians, because we are an island surrounded by foreign languages, languages which have no connection to ours, there's even more of a point for Hungarians to learn foreign languages. Think about size. Think about markets. If you don't bother to learn a foreign language at school, okay, fine, it's your choice. But think about the difference between the situation that you'll find yourself in later on and that of a German. If a young German decides that they don't want to learn a foreign language, no problem. Germany is a huge country, a huge market for business, and the Germans can also communicate with the Austrians and the Swiss. So, a huge market for business with two other rich markets where the Germans can communicate. Think about a young person in Belarus. Again, they decide that they don't want to learn English or French. They're happy with their mother tongue. Okay, but think about the possibilities that they have with their mother tongue. Think about the Russian market, lots of business. Think about Ukraine, another large market. Think about all of the countries where they can communicate and buy and sell on different markets. Good. Now, let's look at ourselves in the mirror. Are we a large country? No. Are there lots of us? No, not really. There are more than there used to be, but we're still a very small nation. Now, can we communicate easily with the countries around us? Well, yes and no. We can communicate very easily with the Hungarians in the countries to the north, south, east and west of us because they're Hungarians. We speak the same language. But if we want to speak, communicate and, more importantly, do business with the Germans, the Spanish, the Italians, the French and anyone else, then we have to see that they are not going to learn Hungarian. They're bigger than us. We want to do business with them, so we have to learn their language, or a common language that we can use to communicate with. So, back to where we started. If a German doesn't see the point in learning English, then fine. He or she can still find a job and do good business in Germany, Austria and Switzerland. Lots of opportunities, lots of people to sell to. If a Belarusian doesn't see the point in learning Spanish, then fine. He or she still has a huge market to explore, lots of people to buy from and sell to. But if a Hungarian decides not to learn a foreign language, then there's a problem. The Hungarian is restricted to a small market. And if you want your business to grow, then small markets are too small. So perhaps there's no point, no good reason for a Spaniard or a German or a Russian to learn foreign languages. They can still communicate with other large markets. The Spaniard with the South Americans, for example. But for us, for the Hungarians, sitting here in the middle of Germanic and Slavic languages, it's very important. There's a very good point to learning a foreign language. It means that when you get a job and try and buy and sell this and that, it may mean the difference between buying from or selling to a market of 10 million or a market of 25, 50, 80 or 100 million. So, when you're sitting in your classroom, bored, wondering what's the point? The point is that you were born on a language island. And if you want to become a businessman or businesswoman, selling things and buying things, making money to improve your life, then you might find it difficult to do only using the Hungarian language and only operating on the Hungarian market. If you've got a good product to sell, then maybe you want to sell it to the Chinese or the North American. That's the point of learning languages. Learn to communicate. Then, when you go abroad on business, you'll have the chance to be more successful, selling your electric skateboards not to a market of 10 million, but to a market of billions. Another reason, of course, is holidays. When you speak a foreign language, when you can communicate with people from other countries, then those countries open up to you. Believe me, I'm speaking from personal experience. When I first came to Hungary, I didn't know anything about Hungary. Nothing. No information. Not a sausage. And I didn't know anything about the language either. I came here and I spoke English. Now, okay, it's possible to get by in Hungary speaking English, but it's only half living. Until I started trying to speak Hungarian, I was just a foreigner living in Hungary. But when I was able to communicate, then the people and the country opened up. When I only spoke English, then my social life was connected to foreigners. And that's silly. Why live in Hungary if you have no connection to the people, to the country? In the beginning, when I lived here, I was disconnected from the people and the country. Things happened, but I didn't understand, or I wasn't interested. I was a young, arrogant Brit. But now, speaking the language makes me a part of society. It means that I am interested in things. I do understand, or if I don't, then I want to, and I ask people to explain things to me. It's much better, believe me. Oh, blimey, look at the time. Another lesson almost over, and I didn't finish the explanation I was making. Oh well, there's no point in crying over spilt milk, is there? Hey, there it is again. Right, let's have another bash at it, shall we? Well, we now know that if there's no point to doing something, then there's no reason for doing something. If you buy something and then don't use it or don't wear it, there was no point in buying it, was there? You spent money on something that you don't use. What's the point of that? There isn't a point. There's no reason for doing it. Think about a time you felt stupid at school. I can remember a classic from my childhood. I was in Mr. Hamilton's class in Robert Douglas Memorial School in Scone, and the headmaster, Mr. Monroe, came into the class. He asked me to recite the alphabet. You know, to say the alphabet, A, B, C, just like the Zengu, A, B, C. And I got about halfway through and forgot one of the letters. I just stood there like a lemon, with everyone staring at me. Now, although I can remember this, I don't think about it a lot. There's no point. There's no reason for me to think or reflect or meditate on that day, that time when I looked stupid. There's no point in it. Nothing will change. It happened, it's finished, it's time to move on. There's nothing I can do to remedy it. It happened, but I'm not going to dwell on it. There's no point. And that's exactly the meaning of the phrase, there's no point in crying over spilt milk. The milk has been spilt. It's all over the table and the floor, but if we start crying, then who does that help? No one. What we need to do is to get a damp cloth, clear the mess on the table and wash the floor. Then we can see if we have enough milk for breakfast. And if not, then we have to go to the shops for some more milk. Crying won't help at all. So there's no point in crying. The accident has happened. And it makes no sense for us to think, what if, what if, what if? It happened. It's over. Time to move on. And so it is with us now. We've reached the end of the lesson and we still didn't manage to finish the sentences we started last lesson. Oh well, there's no point in crying over spilt milk, is there? No. And you all know what we're going to do now, don't you? Yes, we're going to return to the exercise on Monday. Have a great weekend and I'll see you all after the weekend on Monday. Have fun, and have fun. And if you spill some milk, remember, a damp cloth is much more useful than crying. See you later. Bye.